7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Who that? Who that? Who that? Who that? Gossip news, gossip news, gossip, 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 gossip.
Welcome, everyone, to the Fox Den. I'm your debonair host, Mr. Fox Squire. Now, thank you so much for joining us tonight because we have the amazing president of the American Medieval Combat Federation. And before we let them go ahead and introduce themselves, we're going to go ahead and take a second to thank Head Nerds in Charge excuse me, for bringing me to this amazing network of the HNIC network. So I want you to make sure to like, follow, share, and subscribe to headnerdsincharge.com. You see it right there on the screen, headnerdsincharge.com. And don't forget, while you're there looking at merch and all of the other great things, we are having our HNIC Con, and this year's theme is Carnival. Tickets are now on sale for the 2023 HNIC Con, and you can pick yours up at headnerdsincharge.com. So without further ado, let's embrace the spectacle with my guest, Cyrus. Hello, how are you doing? How you doing?
What's up?
What's up? So I want to, let's start out with you and I don't know that you and I ever, did you come on the show before? I don't know if this is your first or second time on the show.
That wasn't me on the show. No.
Yes, you've
but
been on the show.
You talked to the Knights of Wakanda like a year
Yes,
ago. I am with them on occasion.
Yes, and so I was reached out to about you to come on here. I know I did go ahead and have a connection with the Knights of Wakanda, but we have not talked before. This will be our first time having a chit chat, so I'm excited. And I'd say I know what's going on. One of the biggest things, and one of the reasons I also really wanted to have a chat with you, is you are the first Black president for the American Medieval Combat Federation, which is amazing. I don't, off the top of my head, remember how long the Federation has been in, since its origins. When do you know when it started?
So, like, this organization specifically is about, I want to say it's like 6 or 7 years old, but the sport itself in the United States is about 15, 16 years old.
Right. And then you represent, like, as far as the American medieval combat, you guys represent for the international combat, which is the bigger organization. So as a president, you have stuff to do. And what were you saying?
So absolutely. Yeah. Well, we're the American Medieval Combat Federation. We're a part of the international AMCF, which is the International Medieval Combat Federation. So yeah, we're just one organization out of all the countries that represent the sport.
Yes. Now I know that this was not like, and poof, I'm president. Can you start us off with the journey? Because like I said, I've interviewed the Knights of Wakanda, so the audience is used to hearing about the armored combat, but this is our first time really getting a chance to dive into kind of the structure. So let's start with your journey to president. Like, when did the thoughts come in for this, and how did you get started? Yeah, let's start with how did you get started and then move on to president.
Yeah, so how did I get started with armored combat? It started out with a doctor's visit saying, hey, you're pre-diabetic, you're pre-hypertension, you're overweight, and if you don't do something now, you're gonna die. You're just that's how the doctor said it. It's like, look, you have all these problems, you have a history, your parents have had these issues, you need to do something. And I know myself, I know I need to do something. I'm never good at going to the gym specifically for, more than like a month, and I might get it down for a month or two because I can drop the weight really fast. But I was like, okay, I need to do something extreme that's going to be, continuous. I can work toward, that gives me a goal to work toward. I'm going to use my body to do something. I looked at CrossFit, I looked at a couple of things like that, and then literally just, how the internet listens to you. I saw an ad for a gym in Dallas, Texas, the Warlord Combat Academy. I ended up seeing the ad, and I was like, oh, this is some crazy nonsense of people with medieval armor just hitting each other and running around and beating the crap out of each other and fighting. I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this. I had no intention of actually competing, but I figured, they offer fitness classes, they fit in office for all these things. COVID just hit, so I didn't have any much to do. So I started the gym, doing online stuff, some remote stuff, and then they did slowly integrated back into classes because I live in Texas, I live in Dallas, Texas. So, and then there really weren't any tournaments, so I was doing a lot of stuff going on there, a lot of classes. Then slowly but surely, I started getting hooked. I became, within the first 9 months of me doing the sport, within my first year, I went from knowing nothing about sword sports or anything other than what I've seen on movies and things like that, becoming the first Black national champion for Sword and Shield. So that was pretty cool. I won a category, and I got these instructors that are these guys have been doing the sport for a really long time. They took me from nothing to something. And then I not only Sword and Shield, but then I started doing melees, which is like a 5-on-5, combat. I became a champion with them on doing that, joined the Warlords. And the Warlords went from, the number 4, number 5 team to the number 1 team. So consistently winning for years. So, I've been with them now for 3 years. And I went from doing that to, hanging out with the Knights of Wakanda. And, the Knights of Wakanda is basically a social club within the it's more like a social club within armor combat of the niche sport, where it's all of the the Black diaspora, African diaspora competitors. So meeting up with them and and us doing things like that, and then really how it ended up happening was that I'm really nice to get along with. I'm the guy that brings the beers after. That's hence my beer brother Fox name. I bring the beers before, after, having a beer, just kind of talking to people, whatever. Very nice, and I, really nice to talk to, and I kind of hang out. And eventually, I became an instructor and a coach. I like to say instructor. I like to say coach for duels, because I'm really into duels, one-on-one duels, which is like a sword and shield, longsword. These really one-on-one competitors come fights. And I'm pretty sure you've met Spencer Waddell. He was on the show before, last show.
Yes, I remember Spencer. Yeah.
So me and him got together and did a duels tournament, and we did all these high level. We got people from Canada, Mexico, all over US came to do a duels tournament, and I just started meeting a lot of people, having a lot of conversations with people, and people from all different levels, and because I'm very friendly and talking to people, a lot of people on Instagram, from all of the other countries started talking to me. And then, the AMCF came into play. I found out about it, probably about this past summer. And there were a couple people that they had in mind. They were like, here's some people that, the president was like, look, it's going into a new era. He's been around for a long time. He's ready to kind of just be in the background and right after the sunset, but just really just be kind of a background person doing small sport, but not that. And we're coming to a new era of the sport, where it's no longer this back closet thing. It's way more, this thing that happens in open fields randomly. It actually happens in arenas and conventions, and people see it, and people at least can see it. Oh, I've seen that. They can at least can see it. So it's no longer this backdoor, secret thing that happens. And they needed somebody who was personable. They needed someone who could be, but had at least some business and relationship management experience, and could look to the future, but also could serve the community as it is, and people that people like. Oh yeah, that guy makes sense. And since I've done a lot of things with with the Warlords, I'm an active competitor, and I'm an accomplished competitor. Then I've done things with the Knights of Wakanda, helping with that community, and then just being in, bringing those communities together, and bringing our own community, the Black community, together about being aware of the sport in my own way. And then also just not making, just being there for even people outside of the Black community in the sport, and just being willing to help, because the warlords are like, look, we're really good, but we want to help everyone else be good. And I'm traveling around and I have a job that requires travel. So I'm around the country all the time, and I meet people, talk to people, and they're like, yeah, that makes sense for Cyrus to, take this job. And there was a vote, there's a board, there was already a board of, it's a nonprofit. So there's a board of directors, and I happen to know quite a few of them. And two of them happen to, Spencer's on the board. He's one of the Knights of Wakanda. Two people from Knights of Wakanda are on the board. One person's on the board who trained with one women's team here in Dallas. So there's kind of people there. A couple other people on the board already knew me, and I just got the votes, and everybody was like, yeah. And I kind of did like one thing about, what I saw the future of the sport was going to be, and where I think that we could do some things to change and be more active and take it to the next level. And they like that, and that's kind of how it happened.
Oh, that's amazing. That whole story. I have to just echo what who's this Lyrical Aquarian said. Super cool. It's just super cool. That's Lyrical Aquarian from YouTube, and it's such an amazing story. I know when I was reached out about it, I thought that was amazing, and I wanted to hear more about it. And I'm super glad you had that time to connect with us. And so you started, I'm going to say 2020. Is that time? Yeah,
I started probably about a month and a half before like the COVID lockdowns. So
okay, so that's like February,
yeah,
February, early March.
like,
Yeah. And then you started it from there, was just how it kind of fed itself right into going ahead and getting to the presidency. And with the presidency, let's talk about the American Medieval Combat Federation. I can honestly say I don't know enough. I don't know enough to say it's, like what the organization structure is. And I don't know all the things you do. So I guess if you can let myself and the audience know some more about the American Medieval Combat Federation. And do you guys call it AMCF, or do you say
most people just say AMCF. Yeah.
Okay,
AMCF. So AMCF. So kind of to make it makes more sense to people, there are two world leagues. There is the IMCF, and then there what used to be called HMB, Historical Medieval Battles, but now that's called Buhurt League. And those two organizations have been around. Well, Buhurt League is kind of new, but it's been around for a long time. And then there's IMCF, and those are the two world leagues. And pretty much most countries either participate in one or both. The United States, we participate in both. Okay. I'm a part of the American Medieval Combat Federation, which we're a subsidiary of the IMCF. There is another organization in the United States that's a part of the other league, the other world league, which is Buhurt League US, which is called the MCU USA, Medieval Combat USA. But they are in the other league, and my league, predominantly what we do is our number one responsibility is for the organization is to hold a tournament every year that determines who in the United States goes to compete, qualifies and goes to compete in the IMCF World Championships. Okay. So every year we put on a tournament, and this past year was in January. It was in this past January. There were 16 teams. There were 13 men's teams and 3 women's teams, and there are probably about 40 or so duelist competitors, individual competitors for that. So it was a little under 200 people that were there for that. And we had that in Nashville. So my job really was to put that tournament together, and I had never put it together an entire tournament that with 200 people before. I've done like smaller duels tournaments, like 20, 30, it's like 30 people, so that's pretty easy. But when you're talking about, and then the stakes that are on board with that, and then so I had to create a budget. Okay, what are the budget? Where are our facilities? Okay, where are our facilities? Luckily, we had a deal with someone. So okay, let's negotiate on venue prices and how much we're going to rent the facility, and then support, and then on top of that, getting all the competitors registered. Okay, register with all these guys. These people are coming in from all over the country. Following the captains and a lot of that stuff. So a lot of it I couldn't do on my own. And even though there was a board of directors, there wasn't a full staff. So I had to find some people to staff it. So I interviewed some people. I got some refs, got some marshals, what they call marshals or refs, referees or marshals, what we'll say. Then got a scheduler / secretary who came on. I got that person on, helped to run the event, because once again, during that event, you know, you have marshals, you have competitors, but you have someone who's basically a scheduler who knows time breakdowns because matches take a certain amount of time. So helping me create the schedule, create the registration, and doing all that stuff, and making sure everyone's paid and things like that. And then making sure that, hey, everything's going by the books, right? So there are rules. There are a lot of rules, and making sure the marshals are aware of the rules, and then making sure that even the competitors are bringing equipment and things like that are legal and fair. And then also I'm operating within the rounds of the IMCF. The IMCF gives us certain rules and regulations that I have to stick to, and how my team qualifies and things like that. So we get to take everything in this World Championship. You get to take, this one's very unique, but usually you get to take your top 3 teams usually get to go. Well, for us in the United States, our top 4 or 5 teams get to go. Your number 1 team represents in the creme de la creme 5v5. That's like that sweet spot. Then there's another team that goes for the 10v10s. So that's the 10v10. That's Team USA for that. And then there's a 16v16s. So like I said, 16 people in the ring on one side, 16 and another nation, and they're just going at it. And that's for men's and women's. For women's, it's 5s and 3s and 5s. They don't do 10 to 16s for the women's. They do 3v3s and 5v5s.
Okay.
Then I have duelists, individual duelists that get to compete. So we get duels per category, which is, they have 3 categories, which is sword and shield, which is a category I also compete in. Long sword, which is big long bastard swords you'll see.
Yeah.
And then what they call pole arm, with these big 6-foot long pole axes, they're like these big giant axes. So you have competitors who are qualifying for that. So we had maybe like 15, almost close to 15 people per category for that alone.
Wow.
For those categories. And women's is usually about 10, but for the men's is like about 15, maybe 20, depending on which category it is. So organizing all that information. And then as soon as they qualify, okay, the second they qualify, there's still spaces available. So getting all the team captains together, even after that tournament was done, getting and paying for it and staffing and all these different things, making sure that, okay, now the qualified tournament's over, and now the captains know all the information. What's the date? What are the logistics they need to get? What do they need to know for the World Championships, right? I probably spent this morning going back and forth because there's people who want to camp in tent, but there's Team USA tents, and there's certain other countries' tents that had to be in the castle. So coordinating all that information, and going back, and then, they're upset about this. Okay, what's going on with this? What's even the schedule of the event? How many days? What are the times? And I'm going through, and I'm sitting on the board. There's an international committee that I'm on it. And because it's in Europe, I have to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I have to get up at 3 a.m. because those guys are 10, 12 hours ahead of me. So I've got to get up take notes and vote and lobby for things that the U.S. people may want or North American people may want, and coordinate with other countries. So it's a lot of times it is coordinating with the countries. But at the same time, while I'm doing all that stuff, competitors are asking me questions. So this community is big on Facebook. So if something is going on or something has an upset, people email me. They'll message me like, "Hey, what's this? What's this?" And if it's not has nothing to do with the World Championships, because there's a tournament, there's a league, or there's some sort of issue, like, "Hey, I had a question about this thing," or about membership or policies or things like that, or even rule sets. Or they just want to partner with us to do something, to do their own tournament or do their own thing. But they want to partner and sponsor with us. I was like, okay, great. Here's the form, and I've got to go back and follow up and insurance and all these different things that happen. So a lot of that, but the good thing is that I do have a good board. I've kind of gotten them to take over some things, but on occasion, it's still every morning I probably wake up with a dozen messages easy about questions about this or that.
I mean, that's Mr. President. I mean,
I'm the president. I got a lot of moving. Yeah, a lot of moving parts. Yeah.
So when it comes to, like you said, there's 2. I'm going to call them 2 different streams because it'll make it a little easier. And the stream that you're part of is the that AMCF, which is part of the international. So the international, there's
so AMCF, IMCF.
Yeah, there's one other country, but it's all underneath the international. Which then you send. I guess you said your top 4 teams will go on to.
Yeah, typically, usually top 4, sometimes top 5, depending on what it is.
Okay. Now, once they are, and then they compete again in this international tournament version of pretty much what they did in the American version. So it's like, it's like going on to state.
We picked our Team USA. We picked our Team USA. Now Team USA is going over to fight all over again. These guys from all the countries.
No, when they get to the international version, is that the top tier, or is there another like? Another one after international within this same stream.
So within the same stream, no. This is it. Like this is
Okay,
World
so
Championship.
this is pretty much like I'm going to state is international.
I'm going international. I'm going to Worlds. I'm going to see what happens. I'm going to compete, figure out what happens.
Right. Until they find another galaxy, and then you can do it as a world tournament. Now for you, I know that you personally you compete as well. Is there a specific category or specific type of weapon that you're like, oh, this is the one I absolutely love? And is it the same one that you're really good at? Like, are those two things separate or the same?
No, they're. If you had asked me when I first started, I would say yeah, they're different, but now it's pretty much the same. I usually, when I go into a singles match, it's sword and shield. It's like these big giant boards you'll see. They're called heater shields and big giant shields, and like a short sword. I'll use a short sword or one-handed axe in melees, but I'll use a long. But sometimes I'll just use a straight long, short sword, and I'll use like a smaller shield that's about the big as my fist, about that big, and it goes in my hand. It's a punch shield, and I just like it. You can just punch people with it. So I usually kind of use it this. And even if I'm doing sword and shield, or I'm doing what's called pro fights, which is kind of like a one-on-one, and it's like a straight MMA fight, just with armor on. I'll use the same thing. So it kind of makes my brain doesn't make, because there's different things. I can just hit people the same way, and I'm just like, I need to just eliminate extra stuff. So let me just, and then I'll change it up on occasion if I'm like tired, and I'll just like, okay, I'm just gonna get an axe because I can just hold that, and I don't have to like my arms are tired.
That's your relaxed weapon.
Yeah, my relaxed weapon is if I got an axe, if someone sees me with an axe, okay, that's just because I'm tired and I just don't.
You're like, this is my end of day weapon. Thank you. It's been a long day. Now, aside from your favorites, and of course administrating all of this along with fighting in there, you also have your friends, your family, all that stuff. Now, how does that like fit in? Is your family coming to this? Did and also how did they react, or what did they start thinking about it, and how do they react now? So when it comes to family or friends.
Yeah, so my family at first was like, what? That's some white people stuff. That's some white people stuff. My mom though, my mom was like very supportive. She's like, no, that makes sense. Like, because she wanted me to be like, she knew, she was always the one poking me like, hey son, you're getting fat. Like you need to figure out. Because she knew like we have like a health thing, and she was just like, I need you to be like not part of the health thing. So my mom was always 100% on board. So my mom's come to like a handful of competitions when she can. My other family is like, it took a minute, and they're like, that's that white people stuff. I don't know. And then eventually they're like, now it's just like they accept it now. This is, oh yeah, because they know like, oh, they see that like, oh, I really enjoy it. Like they've come to see it. Like my brother and stuff like that. My brothers and stuff like that. They come to see it and like, oh man, this is crazy. Like then they're like, oh man, it's cool. I would never do this stuff. And then some of my friends, like some of my old friends from like college and high school, they were like, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, Cyrus is always doing the utmost or doing the extra stuff, the extreme stuff. That makes sense. Like that makes sense.
He does that extra stuff, so
he's always been a little extra. He's always been a little extra, so because I was like, that makes sense. And then some people are just like, they just want to sit down and explain. They just want to like you. They're like, explain to me exactly what this is. Is this like medieval times? No, this is not medieval times. This is like comparing medieval times to like this is like saying, oh, professional wrestling, WWE to the UFC. Like it's two different things.
It's two very different things. Yeah, they they're not apples and oranges. You're not even comparing the right fruits right now.
No. Like this isn't scripted. This isn't like, this is full contact. I've got skill, you got skill, and just see what happens.
Let's shake it up. It's like the ultimate when it comes to somebody even doing role playing and stuff like that. And Tevi said, Black people call anything unusual white people stuff, no matter how Black it is, which is very true. Very, very true. They just, I think that, and I don't know, as we're talking about that, where especially us, will quickly say, oh, that's the white people stuff. How are you, because I'm sure this is part of, well, I'm saying I'm sure, but I would think this is part of your kind of look to the future. How are you going to kind of change that thought? Because if your friends and family who see you and they're like, oh, it makes sense, are like, this white people stuff, how are you changing, aside from being the president, so you're changing the face, but how are you changing and incorporating for more inclusion within this?
So kind of what my whole thing about that was, okay, so that's where the Knights of Wakanda came in.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's probably about active competitors, probably about 20 or so active, African diaspora, fighters, competitors. So, being with them and us going to do it, not only just doing our own thing, but also embracing each other when we see it, because we're not always on the same team. We all compete against each other. And then just being really accepting of people. There's the thing about this sport is that yes, it's a predominantly white sport, but you'll meet everyone from every walk of life, period, in this sport. You know, it doesn't matter. Like you will find military veterans, conservatives, ultra conservatives, super religious, non-religious, anything, everything from LGBTQ, everything. They will be all at the same tournament. And the thing about one thing that they can agree on is just like, yeah, I've got this armor on, you've got some armor on. Let's go fight and let's go hang out. We're gonna laugh. And their personal stuff and the personal stuff that's outside the sport rarely ever comes out. It really does. It does now when we all go home from that tournament. Now then it comes up.
Yeah, I mean, you're saying Facebook is one of the ways you guys connect, and I'm like, ooh, Facebook can be.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and the other thing about it is the community is on Facebook, so it's like a whole thing. So it is a very interesting community because you'll see it's the trolling and it's the this and the that. It happens all the time, but eventually, the thing we all can agree on is that it's armor combat. We love it, and we don't want it to go away. We just don't always agree, on how it happens. But when it happens, we're like, oh, we're all there. And as long as I can keep that going, and the principle of the AMCF is like, look, we have an open policy for the most part. Anyone can compete. Just don't be a dick. Like, just don't be an asshole. Don't be a danger to anyone. Don't be a threat to anyone, other than in the list itself, in the ring itself. But and I promote that policy, like, hey, I'll let you do what you want, but as long as you're safe and you're not, antagonizing people and doing anything, dangerous or or threatening people, it's all good. You can do whatever you want. Come to the league. You're ready to put on armor. Come on, come with. It's very open community, and I want to continue to do that.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I love it. Actually, while we have a moment here, so if people want to follow more of you, where can they find you if they want to go ahead and follow more about you personally and the president?
Yeah. So specifically me, the best way is to go to my IG, Beer Better Thoughts on Instagram. That's like the best place. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right there. I have Facebook, but that's more so if you're in the community. I hate using it for that because they're just like bombarding. If you want to know like just more about me, follow me or things like that, or things I'm doing. Follow me on IG. IG is the best place. Beer Better Thoughts. Beer Better Thoughts is the number one place to find me.
And now if somebody is interested, they can just type in you're the president, but they can type in the American Medieval Combat Federation and it'll pop up. Like it's
they can find us on YouTube, American Medieval Combat Network, or because we just started that YouTube like a month or two ago.
Oh, okay. Come on, YouTube.
Yeah, just launched that like a month or two ago. So there's like a bunch of videos there. You could just type in American Medieval Combat Federation, just Google it, you'll find the website. That'll have the links to pretty much everything. If you have what you need to do to start, where you want to find a team, all this stuff like that, how to become a member. We always say the number one thing, don't buy anything until you've actually met with a team. That is the number one rule I will tell you, and every single person every competitor will tell you, or team will tell you, don't buy anything. Come to find the closest team to you, find a practice or things like that, and just go there, try it, watch whatever you're going to do. Then wait like 6 months and then decide if you then start buying stuff. Don't.
Then it's time to whip out the card or cash or whatever you're going to use.
Yeah, because it's expensive, and it's expensive, and then some people you learn who you really are once you get hit. You learn a lot about yourself when you get hit with an axe or you get hit with a sword or a weapon.
Oh yeah, and here's the website right here. It's www.amcf. AMC Federation.
Federation.com.
Yep.
All of our membership there. Yeah, if you just want to rip the merch, or if you just want to donate, because we're a nonprofit and we're broke,
Yeah.
because we spend all our money on armor. We have a donation thing on there too.
That's perfect. And then the other, of course, I want to shout out to HNIC Network for bringing me on and having the Fox Den here. And if you want more information, or you just want to go ahead and get your tickets for Head Nerds in Charge convention, which is the HNIC Con on 2023. You can go to headnerdsincharge.com. You can go on there for merch. We have all of our shows are on there, connections to all the different links. Like, follow, share, subscribe. Again, the HNIC Con Carnival 2023. The tickets are on sale. So go get your tickets. They're coming up real quick. Like, they gonna come up on you. So don't be the last one. Now,
I would want to go, but I'm getting married that weekend, so I can't.
Oh, hey! Congratulations.
Thanks.
What? What? How long have you been engaged?
I've been engaged since this past September. Yeah, it's past September. Yeah.
Oh.
I don't really like put it out there on the Instagram or anything about it, because people who know, and they're like, all right.
Exactly. Well, congratulations. Yeah. Yes, big congratulations. Twitter is saying congratulations from Teffy, which we love. And we love to see that kind of just love out in there. So one of the other things that I would love to know is, you said that the thing that tells you a lot about yourself is when you get that first hit. What did it tell you? And I guess, what has this told you about yourself in this? I know you did it to lose, whatever weight, and it was a dietary thing and it was a health thing. But now that you had that first hit, thoughts, and now you're in the president's thoughts. Like, how did it change your saying?
So at first that was like my biggest fear, like, oh, I'm gonna get hit. And then I got hit a bunch of times. I was like, you have a choice. You either like can focus on that part of it, or you just kind of ignore it and push forward. And it got to the point to where like, I'm like, okay, I'm not afraid of it because I know how to protect myself. I've gotten to the point where I protect myself to where I'm like, I'm not going to get hurt. Am I going to get hit? Do I get bruises and do other places that I've been hit? And I'm like, I did not like that. That was horrible. And I left I broke a thing in my hand. I got, and I broke a bone in my hand. And that was from my own teammate actually accidentally hit me in the hand.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So just, you just kind of accept it. Like, it's one of those things. Can you accept that you're going to get hit? Or can you accept that you're going to get bumps and bruises and you're going to get hurt? It's just going to happen. You're not going to get hurt to where, it's like detrimental, like it's injuries prone, like all the time, but you're definitely going to have some bruises and things like that. And it's just one of those things where you just have to decide what are you made of? Really, that's what it is. What are you made of? And do you want to do this or not? It's one of those things like that. And now I'm just like, I don't even think about it anymore. There are people that I'm like, I don't want to get hit by that person, so I need to make sure I'm doing certain things.
Teffy's saying sometimes falling down is the best thing that could happen, and it gets you over the fear. And absolutely right.
That's something they'll preach here. Yeah, that's something they'll tell you, like, hey, you're gonna get hit, and if you can't handle it, there are people who like, nope, they understand, like, nope, they'll try it. They'll come put their armor on for the first time, and we'll give them some slop ones, and then we'll just give them like a really good one. They're like, yeah, no, I don't like that. Hey, that's fair. I get it. But it's definitely one of those things where you learn something about yourself when you get hit. And then there's, like I said, there's certain people like, I don't want to get hit by that guy. Well, I've heard taking some shots even recently that came about across my head. I was like, oh, that knocked me. Okay, well, I don't want to get a second one of those. So yeah, I'll be fine.
Now that you're president and in the middle of all of this, are there, I guess, has that changed? Like, I know you're saying, oh, your thought process changes. You're like, oh, now there's just people I don't want to get hit. Did it change your perspective more now that you're president? Like, I need to keep myself safer or anything like that? Or you're still like, I'm still going to get out there and just throw caution to the wind?
No, that's like the easiest part of it. The president stuff is like the risky stuff. When I'm in the ring with other people, I'm like, oh, this is the easy part of it. Like, now there are some fights where I'm like, Where it's more so the pro fights, which are the MMA fights. I'm like, oh, why am I here? I want to go home. I don't want to do this. I do not, because it's that fear of like, because it's a one-on-one, like MMA rules, like kicking, punching, all these different things, like elbows. They can knock me on the ground and beat the crap out of me while I'm laying on the ground, which has happened. And you're just kind of sitting there like, I don't want to do this. I want to go home. I don't want to, and just
And
kind
this
of
is
like
the duel, or this is the?
no, duels are simple because they're just like, it's kind of like fencing. It's just like continuous strikes.
Okay.
But a pro fight is MMA rules, like ground fighting, ground and pound, like kicks, punches, like that stuff. That's like the scary stuff to me, because like it is just you, but it's also challenging because it's all on you. There's no one else to come back you up or save you if something's going on. It's just I've taken a couple beatings, 1 or 2 losses that I've only lost 2 matches. I'm like, those 2, one was like really close, so his decision was fine. But one of them, I took a beating, and I'm like, yeah, it happened. Just kind of.
So Derek, I'm sorry to stop that for a second, but Derek is here from Facebook, and he's asking. He said he was coming in late. You're always welcome, Derek, whenever you can get here. And he's saying, what state are you practicing in? And because they would like to come by and watch a practice. Is that something that's allowed, that you can watch practice?
Yeah, like they'll let people come in, and like I practice at I live in Dallas, Texas, and I practice at the Warlord Combat Academy, which is in Irving, Texas. But depending on your state, all you do is like if you Google or look up AMCF, there's a link there that'll say, hey, here's where the closest team is. It'll have a whole thing of where all the teams are. There are teams everywhere. Some of them will, have open practices where they'll let people watch, and some of them don't. It just depends.
Yeah,
depends on where you are.
That makes sense, and I am glad to hear that the easy part is the fighting.
Yeah. Well, like I said, just go on YouTube and type in Armored Combat, and you can watch all you want.
Okay. Well, we actually do have a clip from, I think, one of the from the AMCF that we would love to show. So if we have that all queued up, I would love to see this clip for the AMCF. Or fight you're talking about. That's a lot of people. It's so amazing. It's so amazing. All these people. Derek said thanks for the info. From Derek from Facebook is saying thanks for the info. I think you may have either a new fan or maybe a new warrior. Who knows? But
there's no other age. Like I think some of the oldest active guys are in their 50s.
Oh, really?
They're definitely in their 50s. Yeah. There's a couple of guys still hanging on in their 50s. The one guy we call the OG, he's like one of the first people doing it. I think he was like, when he finally hung it up, he was like 60, late 60s, mid to late 60s.
Wow.
Because there's certain types of competition that you can do where it's like duels, it's like not as hard on your body. I think one of the champions last year, he was 59, 60. I think it was like his Bo, and I think that's what his name was. And he's like 59, 60, something like that. And it's because duels are just straight striking, and there's no real. It's like kind of like first to 5 strikes, a certain amount of strikes or certain types. So you can kind of get with that, and you can be like, okay, I can do 4 or 5 of those matches at an older age. But there's some guys that are in their 40s and 50s, they're like, nah, I'm going straight to still going with hardcore stuff, still going with it.
No, one of the things that was mentioned on the commercial is the. I think they said Lineage of Champions. Lineage of Thank you. I saw it for a second. And I was like, "Oh, I'm about to write that down." What is that? When it
so there's a long line of champions that have come into the U.S. One of the guys I think a lot of people know, his name is Stephen Cumby. He's actually in the military, but he was actually in that picture. He's one of the first people that started the sport. I think started the sport like maybe 8 or 9 years ago. I think he's been knighted he was like fought in the castle. He's like at one point he was the number 2 longsword person in the world. So there's that, and then you can accomplish a lot of goals by fighting overseas and fighting in a castle, and you get like a lot of these accolades and things like that. So there's a couple people still active and walking around the United States that are still around, still competing and still doing their best. So so there's that, and then there's a couple people that have competed in a lot of what they call mass battles. Mass battles are, anything above, well, fives are technically mass battles, but mass battles are more like 10s, 16s. There's one that can happen, that's what they call an alveol, which is going to probably be, if I didn't know, it's probably going to be, easily 50, 60 on 60, if I have to imagine. And I know there's the biggest one I've ever heard of was that's on YouTube. It's a 150 versus 150. So they just get out there and it lasts for, I don't know how long it lasts. I think it was like 20 or 30 minutes. And
so when you say 150 on 150, you're talking about 150 people.
Yeah. Yep.
Are fighting another 150 people. Are they from a specific area, or there's individual?
Yeah, so what they do is they'll do like alliances. They'll do continental alliances or certain like things like that, or they'll do historical alliances, and they'll just say, okay, here's the historical alliances, and since the U.S. and North America will be in some of those, they'll just go, okay, you guys are gonna be with this group, and then they'll do that. And then they'll just like, all right, time to.
And then what? So they all just have at it. And then is it like last man standing? Like
it's kind of like last man standing rule. So if you have 3 points of contact, you're down. It's kind of over, and that's more so like the end of it, like the fun part of it. It's like, okay, we've done all the true competition. Now we're just gonna get in there and do this. At some point, my long-term goal is to sometime get close to that in the U.S. If I can at least get like 50 or 60, I think that's good. 60 on 60, that would be great. Wow. That's not like I think I could pull that one off.
Okay. All right, I'm going to be looking. I'm going to be keeping my eyeballs out now for this. Now, when it comes to the future as the president, what is one or two or whatever you want to share, feel comfortable sharing, is not just a goal, but kind of the idea of like, you've told us, hey, I really want to keep that camaraderie, I think is the word I'm going to use, camaraderie going. Even in the midst of everything that's going on in the world and, politically and all such stuff. But my question to you, my thought is like, how are you thinking of doing, like, how is that going to work with what you've got going on? Because there's a lot, there's just a lot. And it's not a simple task to be president of something where you're mixing everyone together.
Yeah. So it really is kind of, I kind of laid down 2 platforms really I want to be going on to, right? And it's more so a rebranding of the entire AMCF. And the first one is my first priority. What can I do to help the qualified Team USA? That's the number one, right? So it's expensive to go overseas, and all your equipment and things like that. Your armor costs $2-3 grand. A ticket to bring all your armor, and we're going to World Championships. I probably myself dropped, almost $2,500 to get to the World Championships, right? So, my number one priority was to rebrand the website and implement some new things to basically help that load. What can I do to raise money, to raise funds? We're a nonprofit. What can I do? Who can I partner with to bring in money? What are some things that I can even do to make people more aware? So clips like you saw like that, and and business relationships that we can form. That's number one, because my goal is like, right now it probably costs, probably altogether, it's probably going to cost $100,000, $130,000, $140,000 when I calculated easily for every single person from Team USA to go overseas. That's a lot of money. And that comes out of their pocket. It's not something we don't have like a lot of sponsorships or partnerships. So that's something I'm trying to do. If I can even, my long-term goal, if I can even cut that down to 50%, realistic, if I can cut that down to half, that you only have to come up with half that takes so much burden off the board, because that money can be saved for people to, do their regular life stuff, or even for them to go to more domestic events. Yeah. And more, and then basically we're an open association. So there are some discussions I'm having to partner with some of the other smaller leagues that are here. They're more established in our leagues that we have here in the United States. So we can have these larger tournaments so that we can bring more public eyes to the sport. No more of this, we're happening at Ren fairs, or we're having these backfields and things like that, where you just kind of show up and just kind of happen to be like, whoa, what are these guys doing? Or you just happen to be at some random convention where you just add, and there's some people there just clanging back, and you're like, oh, this is interesting. Yeah. More so, what can I do to form partnerships, and what can I do to make this more of a spotlight? So we can actually earn some money or in some
Mm.
or it just followers and support. Like, oh, I want to be a true fan. I want to be a fan of the Dallas Spoilers. I want to be a fan of the Cincinnati Barbarians. I want to be a fan of the LA Knights. I want to be a fan of, of all these different teams, of the Dallas Mythics, the women's teams, or or what's the other women's team that's there, the Banshees and things like that. So, um,
More of a
what can
true
I do?
sport so that people can
More of
follow.
a true sport, so something to follow. Because if it's something that's rebuilding the structure the way it's something to follow that people can actually like, oh, I know what this is. I may not know all the rules, but I know generally what the sport is. Not going to take the time to learn it. And doing more of these public events. And there's public events, but they're always, like I said, it's like Ren fairs or it's like a convention that you happen to be at or this and that. But
I know you guys. I
and that
know
stuff is
not
good.
you, but I know the Knights of Wakanda were at Gen Con and
Yeah,
like things
yeah.
like that. And it was I found them through Black Fayday.
Yeah, we did.
So
Yeah,
it's
we did.
totally different.
And that stuff is fantastic because it does do a lot of things that people get to see, get more eyeballs that we does, and that was part of why we do it. But now it's like we're still going to do those things, but now it's like, okay, do we have an official season or do we have official time that you can say, here's an official calendar of events that say you can go see it in these places regularly, and it's not just like a small thing. It's an official thing. So those are my two goals over long term to make this like a more of a organized and public sport because it's this is kind of a descendant of what they call like this sport is more a descendant of LARP. That's kind of what it.
Yeah.
This is a descendant of that, and
Yeah.
LARP is still even LARP is huge. It's still like this obscure thing that you only randomly come upon, once in a blue moon. That
It's true.
You do your LARP, you do your LARP, or you do LARP, and then you do SCA, and that's what's different. This is another offshoot, or you do HEMA, or you do Boffer Sports. I didn't know what any of that stuff. I knew what LARP was, but I thought it was like I know what D&D was,
Yeah.
But I didn't know like then it gets like real intricate all the way to Armor Combat, to HEMA, to all these different things. So what can I do to bring more light, especially about this sport, and those are the goals and that I've set forth with the board of directors for the AMCF and partnerships that I'm seeking because, this is a fantastic sport. It's better than football sometimes,
I mean, when you're telling me 150 on 150, that's
Yeah.
150 armored people, like just coming and like throwing. I'm gonna say swords on because that's what's coming to my
swords
head.
and axes and running.
Yeah, swords, axes, and all this stuff just coming at one another. That sounds like an amazing thing to just watch. And you said that is a YouTube, but it's not something that it's not the only thing that's being done. It's just something that has gotten a little acclaim, and you're trying to make the overall AMCF go ahead and have that acclaim that's there and parlay some of that. And then I guess the second part of the question there is like you said that you have been trying to foster this like opening it up as an open sport more often. And then how are you keeping the camaraderie within the sport? I know you said you're on a lot of the teams are on Facebook and they're talking. How are you navigating that? Because like I said, Facebook's a minefield. I don't care what anybody says. Facebook's a minefield. So how is that navigation going? And do you have any specific tactics you're using to try and keep it all like moving forward?
Yeah. I'm not the best Facebook person, but the good thing about the sport, it already kind of did that for me. And the good thing is that there's a lot of people who already talk in groups and things like that. So there are a lot of groups already. So it's more so just being more open and available and centralizing, hey, here are the events and making sure that people are aware of them so they know they can go to them is like the biggest task that we have. So the good thing about the community, like I said, yes, it's full of like a minefield of Facebook things of trolling, but the good thing about it is it's like as long as you have like a good event and you're working to help people put on and work with other people to put on good events, that's like the key to it. And so as long as people have good events and you go into it, all the other stuff washes away because everybody's going to be like, yeah, there's some drama about this and that, but this is a really good event, so I'm going to go to it, and then I'll just go do my own thing later because I don't have to, it be mixed into this other stuff, which just happened.
Okay, all right. So I'm glad to hear that it does. Everyone's able to focus in on the fact that they're all competing and they're all in this armor together, and that is creating this sense of and very much reality of camaraderie, because I know it's not the simplest task, and it's something I'm sure that adds to a lot of the things that you have to do as president, and I'm sure it increases your email box just fine. So now, if I am, you said that there are opportunities to watch, there are opportunities to join, and I know there's registration that goes along with the membership. I guess my question to you is, what event for you personally really sticks out? Like, what was the one that you're like, this is going to be in my heart forever now? Like, it could be at a tournament, it could be after tournament, whatever it is. But like, what is that like, it got me in the feels? And even more than one. Don't feel you have to tear it down. If there's a couple, then let's talk about a couple.
No. So I've got like two. So I've got two.
Yeah.
So not this current year, but the last year is what they call Carolina Carnage, which happens every year. It's one of the biggest tournaments that runs. It's probably about 16, 17 to 20, anywhere from 15 to 20 teams are there. This is a tournament that was like very interesting for me because what ended up happening was that our team captain injured himself in his pro fight, got injured in a pro fight the day before, so he couldn't compete. Then two of our other guys who are like our like really DPS, like major like takedown guys, they were overseas at a different tournament, so they couldn't, and they kind of weren't able to get back in time. So we're down like our top 3 people, like we're down. So we're like, okay, well, we're short body too. So we usually have to have 8, but we only had 7. And basically the team captain's like, look, I'm sorry guys get hurt, but you guys, Cyrus, you owe me a body, you owe me bodies every round, Charlie, all these guys are like, I'm running down the roster. Like, hey, the one guy who's just mostly just a rotating person, he's like 50. He's like, man, he only expected to have like maybe 4 or 5 matches. Now he's in every single match. And our team is really good, and we've been really good on top for years, for like the last, since I've joined. But the thing about it was, people were like, it's just these 3 guys. That's it. For you to get rest past these 3 guys, the rest of them are, not that good. And we didn't win that tournament, but we did get second, and we lost in the gold medal match. We lost in the gold medal match by 1 point. It was like last two people standing. Like it went on for like minutes, and it was just like an intense thing that happened, and it just went down, and we're like, everybody was like, we lost, but we destroyed a lot of other teams. And it was like one of those things where like people were like, oh, it's not just these 3 guys. These 3 guys aren't there, and they're just mowing over people left and right. And just because, and I had 19 rounds. I was in every single match, 19 rounds. And the day before I did singles. So I did a singles tournament the day before, and I did another 19 matches the next day. So that was really good, and I had the highest takedown ratio, the KD ratio of the entire team that day. So it was great for me. So I was like, we win? No, we lost. We got number 2, but at the same time, like there was nothing to be ashamed of, because it came down to like the last 2 people, like in a third round, and that's just most of the matches are best 2 out of 3.
Okay.
So it's like, it's one of those things. So there's that. And then the next one, I think that's going to be, it's going to be bittersweet, but at the same time, it's going to be the World Championships in 2 weeks in Belmonte, Spain. I'm flying to Spain. Every time I've qualified to go to the World Championships, either COVID or war or something happens and I couldn't go, or something else, another major world crisis that they had to cancel it the last 3 years. So, that's been great for me. That's going to be a special time for me. I'm doing everything. I'm playing singles. I'm doing duels, sword and shield duel. I'm doing a pro fight. I'm doing 5v5 melees. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to compete with my own home team because they qualified to go to another world tournament, unfortunately. But I'm going to be with Team USA. I qualified for that tournament, but since I'm in this World Championship League, I'm really just like, I'm World Championship. I gotta go. I'm president and I'm qualified. I'm like, man, guys, because they were gonna go. But it's like that's a whole thing. It's a whole dramatic internal combat drama between our league and the other world league. It's a whole thing.
I'm sure. But, and you said this is Team USA for the armored combat. Who's going to Spain?
Yeah, going to Spain. We're going to Spain. We've got about 54 people, 54
Mm.
people going overseas.
That's in
It's
April.
gonna yeah, that's in April, at the end of April. Yeah, 29th through May 2nd. It's going to be streamed on YouTube on,
Ooh.
I don't know if it's going to be streamed on the AMCF network channel or if it's going to be just streamed on the IMCF page. I'm going to post that on my Instagram the second I know, because they've kind of figuring out, or if it's going to be streamed on the Castillo Belmonte is where it's going to be. They have a website, so they're kind of deciding what they're going to do. Most of these events are streamed online on YouTube. We're kind of
Mm-hmm.
just figuring out. So I'm super excited because, like I said, I haven't been able to keep Germs World Championships. I I was telling my fiance, I'm like, I just want to beat up a French person. So can you teach me French? And then of course I've skipped every French lesson I had.
No,
She's trying to
parlez-vous
she
français?
speaks yeah, because she speaks fluent French because her family speaks nothing but French. So it's like French and Swahili and all sorts of things. So I was like, oh, can you teach me? And then I skipped all my lessons, but I'm like, that's cool. I'll figure it out. I'll meet up a Spanish. I'll figure something out. I'll be up a French guy, some Spaniards, and some Germans, some people from Luxembourg or wherever else.
I'm sure it'll all come clean over a beer or two, so it should be fine.
Montreal. So yeah, this is going to be a great moment for me because World Championships, it happens, it comes and goes, and you never know. It's been canceled before, it could get canceled again. So this may be the time when we get to say, to do this, and I'm very proud of the people that are going, that are qualified. So it's been a good time.
Okay, that all sounds amazing. And now, I know you said that you are president now.
Mm-hmm.
What is, I guess, are there terms to president? Are you just stay in, or like how does the presidency work? Because at some point, even you said the president was like, I'm ready to bag back.
Pretty much it's the same thing. It's pretty much the same thing. It's like until I decide I don't want to be president anymore. Or either there's two things. Either I don't want to be president, or like the board of directors are like, or vote me out. It's one of them. Like I basically get impeached, or
yeah.
I basically get impeached and they kick me out, or I leave.
Well, it didn't happen to Obama, so I don't see it happening to you. So.
Yeah. But I know, like, realistically, I know, like, there's probably gonna be a time where my fiance is gonna be like, well, she's my wife and we have a kid or something. She's like, look, I don't know how much longer we do this. We've already kind of had discussions about it. I'm like, well, okay, let's play it by ear after some time.
Let's have a talk about this. We gotta, but
let's negotiate. How many tournaments can I go to? What's like a realistic negotiation? 6, 4, 6,
25?
I want to say 12, but that's every month. But it's like, okay, every other month. So okay, every other month, every 60
If you're negotiating, start high. I'm just telling you. You're negotiating, start high.
Well, I started at 9. Started at 9. She got me down to 6, 7. So I'm like, okay. Trying to settle it there. We'll still negotiate. We'll see what happens.
I will tell you, as somebody who's married, yes, your wife's probably gonna win. Just she's gonna win. Like I don't mean no harm or nothing.
I'll pack up the baby. I'll pack up everything in the car. You just nap. You'll nap. I'll pack up the kids. People bring. Yeah,
I can burp her in the stalls between. It's fine.
Yeah, people picking their babies all the time. There's plenty of competitors. Baby, wives and stuff like that. They be competing. The women, they bring their babies. They're like, I'm bringing a baby, pack them in the car. I'm like, I can do the same thing. Maybe you can be here at the house. I'll figure it out.
You have a bottle and a sword in one hand. Like we can do this. Yeah. Well, it has been nothing but a pleasure talking to you. Let's talk again about where people can find you, because there's some great information coming up about the U.S. armored combat when they're going to Spain around April 29th. So you're going to put that on your IG. That's what I'm find your IG. And that's the Beer Battered Thoughts.
Yep, Beer Battered Thoughts on IG. You can, if you'd like to, follow me on IG. You can look. I have a lot of clips of all the combat competitors, and we only did that one thing. But if you want to see what some of the battles are really like, just look at my IG. I've got tons and tons of videos on there. I'm not the best at uploading videos, but I know I need to start doing more. But I also do like live. Sometimes I'll do lives and I'll pop in and show you guys what like lives practices and things like that or training is like to get ready for those tournaments. So follow me at beerbatthoughts.com. American Medieval Combat Federation, AMCFederation.com. You can find out more about the sport. You can find out more the teams are and things like that. You can follow us on Facebook, American AMCF Facebook. American Medieval Combat Federation Facebook. There's a Facebook group if you think you might want to join it or just want to know what it's like there.
Yeah.
That's on Facebook. If not, like I said, YouTube is your friend.
Yes.
HNIC Network, they guys from me be on here. But yeah, YouTube is your friend. YouTube, Armor Combat, Buhurt, BUHURT. You'll find tons and tons of videos of people doing some crazy stuff. Armor Combat 150 versus 150. You can watch that whole thing that happened like a couple years ago. It's a crazy thing, video you'll watch.
And if people want to donate to the ACMF,
AMCF?
they can do it through the website, the www.amcffederation.com.
Donations are very much welcome because we are a nonprofit. It gets tax-free 501(c)(3) because we're broke. Because we got to pay for these nights somehow. So yeah, absolutely, we are willing to take donations to help Team USA go over there and kick. We're on a hunt for Spanish gold. That's what we're trying to do. Trying to get those medals, and get knighted. That probably.
And so you're going to get knighted when you all win. You're going to get knighted.
Yeah, maybe it depends. Okay. So you have to get knighted by someone who's already a knight, and then I was kind of like, maybe I will, maybe I won't, maybe I care about it, maybe I don't. We'll see.
Okay. All right. Well, we don't know. We'll have to follow you on IG at Beer Better Thoughts.
Because I will be loading up. I promised Spencer and a couple other people like I'm going to be live streaming it.
Okay.
While I'm there, documenting the whole thing. So.
That's right. Support your friends with money.
Support your friends with money. It's $1, $2, $5, $10, whatever. You have a company. We're also doing partnerships with AMCF. We're looking for business partners to help us do things. So we're giving away a lot of things with that. Some cool weapons.
Fantastic.
That's
AMCFederation.com, and you'll see it right there on the screen.
My old helmet here. I don't use this anymore.
That's the president. That's the president's helmet.
President's helmet. That's retired now because it's a little mangled. We're being hit too much.
Yes. And like I said, it has been a pleasure. I want to close out by thanking Head Nerds in Charge for bringing me onto the greater HNIC network. Wow, that I don't know why my mouth just didn't want to do that. On the greater HNIC network, that's headnerdsincharge.com. You can go on there for your likes, your follows, your share, to subscribe to anything, including the Patreon and the YouTube. And you can also go there to get your tickets because HNIC Con 2023 Carnival is the theme, is coming up quick and tickets are definitely on sale. So take some time, peruse, get your merchandise, get your tickets on HNIC for the HNIC Con, and that's headnerdsincharge.com. I have been your host, Fox Squire, and this has been the Fox Den. You can find me on actually any platform. If you look up Fox Squire 2016, you're going to find me, including my Cash App. So it doesn't really matter where you go. But as you are looking up things for the AMCF and learning more about Cyrus, feel free to do the same for HNIC. Feel free to do the same for myself, Fox Squire. And this has been the Fox Den. Thank you so much for this evening and for taking the time, Cyrus. And for all of the audience who tuned in, thank you for your questions. Amazing night, amazing interview. And everybody have a good night. And thank you for embracing the spectacle with us. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
In the crossfire. It's caught in the crossfire. Caught in the crossfire. It's caught in the crossfire.